We are 2 weeks away from the 2024 NFL draft, and that is why tonight we will have a live mock draft, 3 rounds long, but we're not taking an offensive lineman in the first round. Here we go. Let's get it. What is up, everyone, and welcome into A to Z Sports Dallas Primetime. I am your host, Mauricio Rodriguez, streaming with you live every Sunday through Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central here on Dallas On Demand Sports Talk Network with a lot more content coming your way. Make sure that you check out atozsports.com/Dallas. And as always, do me a favor and hit the like button for me if you enjoy the show. Welcome, everyone, on a Thursday night. It is a great night to talk some Cowboys football. Tonight, we'll go over a 3-round mock draft. We will do it live using the Pro Football Focus mock draft simulator. Later on the show, we'll have a just for fun segment, just a warning for y'all. We're going to mesh UFC 300 with the NFL world. And I'm going to tell you exactly why. I did an article for A to Z Sports picking a fighter, a player out of each of the 32 NFL teams. And I picked one guy that I thought would win in an MMA fight. And the reason why I did it is because I don't cover the UFC professionally, but I absolutely love it. And for those of you who do follow the sport, UFC 300 is going to be huge. And I want to in on the fun. So we'll do that just for fun. And then at the end of the show, stick around for a primetime announcement, an important announcement on the future of A to Z Sports Dallas Primetime. Things are changing, and we are starting next week. So stick around for that. I'll tell you more about it. But in the meantime, though, let me say hi very quickly. We've got a Katharina in the room. We've got a Gregory. We've got Toxic. Who else do we have around here? We've got a Mike and Isidro. Shout out to all of you. We've got Jeff and Bob over on the Facebook show. We've got a Toxic saying the Fallout series is so good. I'm watching the first episode tonight. I'm a big Bethesda guy. I'm a big Fallout fan. So looking forward to it for sure. But ladies and gentlemen, let's get right into it. Let's get into a mock draft. So here are basically the rules. We're using the PFF simulator. We are picking as the Cowboys, on only the Cowboys, and we're going for 3 rounds. But this show is kind of like a sequel of the show that we had before this week, earlier this week, on Cowboys prospects that are not offensive linemen. So basically trying to answer the question, what would things look like if they don't go with an offensive lineman in the first round? Now, yes, we're just having fun with it, but also I think it's somewhat of an important exercise because 95% of the Cowboys draft coverage this offseason has them picking offensive line in the first. And there's no reason to think that they're going for another position. But at the end of the day, it is the NFL draft. So I think it is important for us to look beyond offensive linemen. So even if, I don't know, Troy Fautanu is there at 24th, just for the sake of the exercise, we might go a different route because that is the objective of this show, trying to paint a picture as to what they could be targeting if they don't go offensive line. So, and then how things could fall after that. So I think it's an important exercise. I think it's a fun one as well. So let's get to it using the PFF simulator right now. And just for clarity, I am going to show you the settings, although I will be honest with you, I don't think these settings have like a specific way that is the best way to use the simulator. So we're going with the slow speed. We're doing mostly the public board, but also maybe some insight there from PFF. I put this up a little bit, care for positional value, because I do think NFL teams care for positional value, draft for needs. I'm going to take it a little bit down, actually. So I'm going to try to balance it just a little bit here, because I do think teams draft for need, and then randomness just for fun. But it's like the number one level here. So we're going to enter the draft right now, and we're going to get right into it, because life is too short to sit around. So here we go. Let me just make sure this is looking well on the screen. Maybe we want to see more teams at a time. All right, there we go. Let's get to it. The Chicago Bears are on the clock, and they're taking Caleb Williams. Man, that run at QBs is gonna be so fun to watch early on in the draft. So I'm just gonna be pausing when we see relevant players to the Cowboys. So far, we've only seen 2 offensive linemen go in the top 10, top 11, which is a huge win in my opinion for the Cowboys. You get Joe Alt going to the Giants, you get Fuaga going to the Jets, and I think that if only 2 offensive linemen are off the board by pick 11, I think that's relatively a positive for the Cowboys, even though we're not looking at linemen in this particular show. Brock Bowers. Oh, there goes Fashanu to the Raiders. There goes Fotano to the Colts. I want to see one more offensive lineman go here just for the illustration of it, right? This is crazy that Byron Murphy made it to us, by the way. I think that's like the elephant in the room right now, Byron Murphy. But we'll get back to him. I just want to show you the rest of the board very quickly. We've got Amarius Mims. We've got a Kool-Aid McKinstry, who could be a fun pick, but also an unlikely one. There's Jackson Powers Johnson, who maybe if we had done this like on Sunday last week, I might have picked Jackson Powers Johnson even in this scenario. But I can tell you, man, that Mel Kiper thing about him dropping and everything, it might be a thing for Powers Johnson that some teams are going to pass on him a little bit more than we would expect. There's so many players worth looking at right now. There's Darius Robinson, the defensive end, who we know they like because he's a top 30 visit and one of the few non-offensive linemen that could go in the first round. Chop Robinson from Penn State, and there seems to be some disagreement as to who will go out of these two first. But definitely options for the Cowboys getting a defensive end. I've talked about this on the show. The Cowboys have DeMarcus Lawrence only under contract through 2024, and they don't have a lot of depth. So that part of it is interesting. Trying to find if there's somebody else we would consider here, but it doesn't look like it. So pretty much, here's where I think we stand at 24. And let me know in the chat, who do you think we should take if we are excluding offensive linemen? Okay, we're still excluding offensive linemen just for the sake of this exercise in the first round. We can go get one in the second, but I want to paint a picture as to what things could look like if we end up being surprised here. I think the obvious guy that is staring us in the face is Byron Murphy right now from the Texas Longhorns, just because he could be considered a steal at 24th. You've got Osa, you've got your 3-tech and everything, but also let's add a top-tier player. I wouldn't mind that. I think that's an option. I think Darius Robinson is an option. And you could add Adonai Mitchell there as an option as well. So I think that's what we're looking at, guys. If you want to go ahead in the chat and drop your picks, let's see what you guys have to say. Gregory says Murphy. Gregory says, Mo, it is a gamble on anyone you pick for as health. As far as health, talking about the history of players. Radical wants J.J. McCarthy. He's off the board, though, thankfully, at 11th overall. Toxic says, just draft Brooks and get at it. Get it over with. No, man, we're not drafting Brooks right now. I'm not going to make any promises in the second round. Leon says, drafting O-line in the first round is a cop-out, in my opinion. Interesting. Cop-out is interesting. I would like to hear more about that, Leon, but we're not going to do it now. We're not going to do it on this show. All right. Would be great if JPJ drops to 56. Medical is spooking some teams, as Isidro, and that seems to be right. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, you know what? I'm going to stay true to the board, the imaginary board that we're working with, and I'm not going to let Byron Murphy fall any further. And I'm going to tell you, man, even though Byron Murphy is seen as a top 15 prospect or top 20 prospect, I could see him being there at 24th. He is undersized, so it's not like he's a perfect prospect because he does have some size concerns. And he is an interior defensive lineman. So is it out of the question that he makes it to 24th? Heck no, it's not. So let's get Byron Murphy for this one. Maybe I could have looked at trades there, but That would have been more complicated, especially if we're doing the no no lineman in the first. So there was quite a run at lineman there at the end of the first round, as you could see. Jordan Morgan is now off the board. Xavier Worthy is off the board. Roman Wilson, so wide receiver, is also taking a hit before the Cowboys go on the clock here. Zach Fraser is one that definitely hurts. So we're now on the clock at 56th overall. And this is a situation where if the Cowboys don't go offensive line in the first, now you're talking about, all right, what do we do in terms of adding an offensive lineman? Do we force it in one of these stages? Because we've got, man, I'm going to filter this prospects and I'm going to go to a tackle here. And I know John Owning has been tweeting a lot about Blake Fisher lately. So look out for Blake Fisher, man. I love John Owning. So he might be onto something there. But in terms of at least consensus guys that could be worth it at 56th, doesn't seem to be a lot right now. We could look at interior offensive linemen now, though. Oh, man. Here we go. And you would add Christian Haynes there into the conversation. I got to be honest with you. I don't know if the value is going to be there for offensive line, though. So, although I trust John Owning that Blake Fisher could make sense here, I'm also not going to steal his thunder. I'm not going to do a John Owning draft just to copy him. Not at all. So we know who we're thinking about right here. We're thinking about Jonathan Brooks, or we're thinking about Edgerrin Cooper, in my opinion. Maybe Braylon Trice, but it would be a little bit crazy to go back-to-back defensive end here. Well, not defensive end, excuse me, defensive line here. So I'm thinking Edgerrin Cooper, and I'm pretty high on Edgerrin Cooper. Like, I really like that possibility for the Cowboys in the second round. But then we're going into the third round with no offensive lineman. But this is the game we're playing, so let's stay true to it. We're taking Edgerrin Cooper at 56th. I would much rather roll the dice on a round 3 linebacker than I would on a running back here in the second. Jonathan Brooks goes 60. Oh, man. Did you see that? Let me go. I'm pausing the draft, and I'm showing you this very quickly. Jonathan Brooks to the Niners. And if for some reason he ends up being like a capital D dude in the NFL, you know we're going to discuss that for years and years and years, especially if Edgerrin Cooper doesn't work out or something like that in this hypothetical world that we're living in. But all right, let's get back to the draft. Toxic Tom says, Mo, can you filter for which players are already hurt or a felon? That is our pool. Man, if I could, I would filter those out and just not give the Cowboys a chance at a bargain second round pick. Cooper says for Mike. Cooper in the second round is a no-brainer, says Marco. So there's some approval here for our pick. But there's also some growing concerns about offensive line. Radical says draft sweat. Hey, man, the way that it's trending, and I know they're different, but can you imagine like seeing Byron Murphy and then T'Vondre Sweat on the same, landing on the same team? And I know T'Vondre Sweat is just dealing with all of the field issues right now. But let's resume this. There goes T'Vondre Sweat. So he's off the board. He went to the Giants at 70th. Man, Michael Pratt to the Raiders in the third is totally possible, in my opinion. Spencer Rattler. All right. Ooh-wee. Oh, did you see that? I'm asking you, did you see the Texans pick at 86th overall? Malachi Corley. One pick before the Cowboys went on the clock. Oh boy, that one hurts. Oh, but look who is there. Look who is there on the board. So I'm going to give you the top names thrown out to us by PFF. You've got Blake Corum, running back out of Michigan. You've got Blake Fisher, the tackle out of Notre Dame, who we considered in the second. Bucky Irving from the Oregon Ducks. Trey Benson. So you got a lot of running backs still on the board. There's Cedric Van Pran, who I know a lot of people would like in the third round, and the same for Mason McCormick here. But we might go, we might go with Blake Fisher, right? Like, can I keep postponing an offensive lineman at this stage? And I think the value here would be great. Would you rather have like that lineman over a running back or the other way around? I think that's what it comes down to it. And I'm good with going with offensive line here. Now, people are asking about a cornerback. I think it was Gregory who asked, so let me show you the cornerback. There's Renardo Green, Jarian Jones, DJ James, and Chris Abrams-Drain, who I know a lot of people like. Cam Hart as well, but I don't think there's enough here for me to pass on what we got offensive line and running back wise. Toxic says no offensive line draft, but it's no offensive line in the first round. So here we could do it. But I'll tell you what, though, I see a lot of support for a running back here. And I'm not saying it's a democracy, but I see a lot of support for Benson right now. Pounding the table for Benson, says Marco. He really wants Benson. David Cowboy says Benson or Corum. Man, I'm having a tough time. I'm having a tough time with this one. And I'll tell you exactly why. I really want, I really want a lineman. I don't want to go into the 2024 season and not have an offensive lineman. But in the third round, I love Blake Corum. I love Trey Benson. And I think, by the way, spoiler alert, if we go running back, we're going Benson. Because I do think Benson has a shot at being the top running back in this class. And I like Corum and everything, but I also don't feel like in love with him in the third as much as I do with Trey Benson. Like, I feel like Benson is a steal in the third. Here's what I'll do. Here's what I'll do, man. I'll live it up to James Foster from A to Z Sports. And I'm going to go through his board very quickly here because he has done a fantastic job breaking down the draft over on A to Z Sports. And if you don't follow the A to Z Sports Film Room channel, let me tell you, you are missing out. He is killing it. And he also has this big board tool over on A to Z Sports. If you go into the website and you look for A to Z Sports Big Board, there's a widget that will give you strengths and weaknesses for each player. It will give you a comp. It will give you James Foster's rank versus the consensus rank. So that's what we're going to look at right now, by the way. Of course, it doesn't filter out, man, even for him, it's close. But Trey Benson is significantly better for him. So I'm going to give you the numbers right now. 67th best prospect, Trey Benson for James Foster. 67th best prospect. Blake Fisher is 72nd. So it's so close. It's so close between each other. I don't think that's enough BPA value for me to ignore just how badly I want the lineman. Here's Blake Fisher per James Foster for you. Compares him to Cameron Irving, and his description of him is broad, well-proportioned frame with long arms. And if you go to athletic testing, which, by the way, you can also find there, it's over 34 inches. That's a 60th percentile arm length. Will flash and withdraw his outside hand to neutralize ghost moves. Knockback pop in his jump set to disrupt the rusher's tempo. Stiff inside hand to seal off the B gap. Explodes into the second level assignments. If we go to weaknesses, though, lacks elite pocket range to recover from aggressive sets. Has to open his hips early to project the corner. Erratic depth creates entry points into the pocket. Man, I hate this because I really want to go with Fisher here, but I know the chat wants to go with Benson. I'm not about to upset you guys. I'm not about to upset you. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not going to upset you today. I'm not going to pass on Trey Benson, bro. I'm not. Oh, man, I wish we had done this until the fourth round now just to see if we could get A shot at Blake Fisher in the... Oh, no, we don't have a fourth rounder. Never mind. There goes Blake Fisher anyways. 96th overall. He goes to the Jacksonville Jaguars. He'll be a future Hall of Famer there. So there we go, man. That is our mock. Byron Murphy in the first, Edgerrin Cooper in the second, Trey Benson in the third. No offensive lineman for us, and we'll go cry, I guess. This sets up an interesting scenario now because it really paints a picture as to why you probably should go offensive line in the first because you're going to run out of options otherwise. So right now, and obviously, ideally, you would have filled some holes through free agency. But now this would mean the following. The Cowboys starting offensive lineman projection, regardless of who you pick in day 3, you would have Tyler Smith at left tackle, because you have no choice at this point other than to play him at left tackle. TJ Voss at guard, Brock Hoffman at center, and then Martin Enter and Steele. And then the way you could make that work, and it would be risky, but this is the game we're playing. Maybe you sign Connor Williams off of free agency. He suffered an ACL injury late in the season, but he had been playing like one of the best centers in the NFL for the Miami Dolphins. So there's that. Or you could sign maybe, I mean, I know they won't make like splash signings or anything like that, but could they sign Mekhi Becton and kind of roll the dice on another injured guy? And I know no one likes that, but this is the situation the Cowboys are in, hypothetically, in this hypothetical world that we made up for them with this mock draft. Other than that, though, I feel pretty damn good about this mock. Byron Murphy, Edgerrin Cooper, Trey Benson. Hell yeah, I can roll with this. Let me know in the comments if you liked it. Man, I was not about to upset you guys in the chat. I was not about to do that. Toxic says, I'm like Michael Burry, who is Christian Bale in The Big Short, for those of you who are not financial nerds like Toxic Tom and I are. I don't care about the price. I want the most value possible. Hard to pass on Benson this late in the third. I agree, man. I agree. Just kicked the can down the road. This is Gregory. Yeah, I mean, we kind of did. We kind of did right there. We're like, hey, man, Romelo didn't like it, and that's more than fine. That I just want your honest opinions here. Keep in mind, though, like if you're going to evaluate this draft, do it within the context of what we set out to do. No offensive line mock in the first. Benson would be a third-round steal, says Isidro. Yeah, I kind of feel like that, too. I would be happy with Trey Benson in the third. I would. I just don't like the offensive line situation. But the draft itself, I would be pretty confident with it. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that will close our mock draft segment. But hear me out. I want to have some fun with you. And I want to do it this way. Recently, I put out an article in celebration of UFC 300 taking place this Saturday night. And man, if I told you what my plans are for Saturday, you would feel sad for me. And I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna watch it live though. I'm not gonna be able to watch it live. And I absolutely hate that. But I'm gonna do what Ted Mosby did on How I Met Your Mother, and I'm gonna do the whole, blinder thing. And I'm gonna delete apps. I'm gonna turn off my phone for an entire night and the morning after that, and then I'm gonna watch the recording with my brother, who is also a diehard MMA fan. Anyways, what I did for A to Z Sports was I put together a list of 32 players, and those 32 players are the ones that are gonna represent in a hypothetical fight, their team. Who would you pick out of the Cowboys to win an MMA fight? And I'm going to tell you something. There is a very easy answer for this question. And some of you might get it right. But there's a real answer to this question. But I want to see your answers first. I want to see your creative answers. But there's one that it's absolutely the correct one, and everyone else is going to be wrong if they don't pick him. But who would you pick out of the Cowboys to go win an MMA fight? Let me know in the comments. We're already getting some fun answers here. Gregory says Micah Parsons or Jake Ferguson. Jake is a sneaky good pick. Like, I would like Jake just because he's always down to fight. So along, it goes a long way for me. Just that attitude. Toxic says Oza. Levi says Lawrence. Brooklyn Joe says Oza. So we've got 2 votes for Oza. Same for Marco. We've got 3 votes now. Bruce goes with Micah. Russell goes with DeMarcus Lawrence. Bob says Tyler Smith, which I low-key love. Inez says D-Law. All right, you ready for the correct answer, though? You're ready for the correct answer. Let me try to find these very quickly, though. Just so I can read you my description of this pick. Deuce Vaughn, Jeff. Come on, Deuce. Come on, Jeff. You seriously don't want to send Deuce to war. Hey, but they do have division, so it might be okay. All right, so my pick for the Dallas Cowboys, and I strongly believe this is the only correct answer, and shout out to those who said it, but it's Oza Odighizuwa. Ladies and gentlemen, the baddest man in the NFL also won not 1, not 2, but 3 straight heavyweight wrestling championships and went a combined 91-0 over his last 2 years in high school. I'm taking Oza Odighizuwa 3 times out of 3. And somebody asked, what was the question, says David Cowboy? Who would you pick for the Cowboys, from the Cowboys, to win an MMA fight? Who would be your best fighter if you had to pick one from the Cowboys? This is in the context of the UFC 300 and us wanting some fun, some in on the fun, on the MMA fun. Oza Odighizuwa is the right one. Jake Ferguson, I loved. Somebody said Jake Ferguson. I love that answer just because he's always down to fight. He's ready to go. D-Law I like as well because he always has that attitude too. He's always talking about punching people in the mouth, or at least I feel like it. But Oza has actually gone out there and wrestled. And one of my favorite MMA content creators, Lou, shout out to Lou, he usually says, elite wrestling always beats elite jiu-jitsu. So Oza is ready to go, man, for MMA. He just needs to convince us as a striker, and then he's ready to go. It's always a fun post, man. If you want to read it, I'm actually going to drop it in the chat for those of you who want to read it. But I'm going to spoil you at least a few just so you can see how much fun I had with this. I picked Jim Harbaugh for the Chargers just because he finds a way to win. I picked Jonathan Allen for the Commanders just because he punched Daron Payne that one time. And then I picked Justin Tucker because, man, I've seen leg kicks define outcomes of fights before. So I could definitely see Justin Tucker being a low-key pick there for the world of MMA. So, yeah, you can see all my 32 picks over on that website. But keep in mind, it's just for fun. So don't tag me on Twitter with outrage of a wrong pick. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I always have a lot of fun with these sort of segments. Before we get out of here, though, I do have a bit of an announcement to make. And it's an important announcement for the future of primetime for sure. I've been teasing it over the last few days. Pretty much all week I've been teasing it. It's something that we've been working on for a while on A to Z Sports. And basically, here's it. Primetime is changing its programming. And the way that it's changing its programming is that we're not going to do 5 live shows per week anymore. And instead, it's going to be 2 live shows per week. It's going to be Sunday and Thursday, same time, 8 p.m. Central. But between Monday and Wednesday, we are going to have shorter videos. It's not going to be a 30-minute, 40-minute show. It's going to be more of a 10-minute video, straight to the point, quick hitter. Obviously, there's some bittersweet feeling to it. And for those of you who have been watching the show for a long time and you've been doing it on a daily basis, you have no idea how much you all mean to me. It's really something that I don't take for granted. It is an honor to be here every single night talking to you about the Cowboys and having some fun with it. I've always loved it, and that is a big reason why we're sticking with 2 live shows per week, because we don't want to basically neglect all of that support to the show. So that is important to me that you know it. And I'm always going to be appreciative of it. We're still going to do the live shows because of it. That being said, though, the reasoning behind the programming for primetime, and I want to be very transparent with this, is that we want to take it to the next level. And I think part of it, and we think part of that, is offering something a little bit different and maybe a little bit fresher. And it's going to be 5 pieces of content from me, video wise, still, but it's just going to be shorter Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Now, these might change as we go. We might be adapting and adapting and adapting. But all of these, I do want you to know, is to take prime time to the next level. So Sunday and Thursday, we're still going to do live shows, and you're still going to see me 5 times per week. It's just not going to be in the same format. And as I said, man, it's bittersweet in a sense because I've been doing this since 2021, like these shows specifically, every single night. So it's super fun to do. And I don't, as I said, don't take it for granted, all of your support. But I still wanted you to know what the plan is for primetime in the future. And I'm going to tell you, I'm very excited about changing things up. I'm very excited about changing things up. And I do know, or at least that's the bet here, that it is going to help take primetime to the next level and reach a whole new audience as well. So I'm very excited about that. It's all for the best. We at A to Z Sports, our main thing is that you enjoy the content that we are providing, and that is the plan moving forward. So I just wanted to let you in on the secret. We are launching this programming next Sunday night, so it's coming quickly, but we're going to see each other again Sunday night, 8 p.m. Central, though, for our usual live stream. So Sunday night, Thursday night, 8 p.m. Central, we will be seeing each other every single time for a live show, and then some pre-recorded videos in between. So again, thank you to everyone who always tunes in into these shows on every single night. It's going to look a little bit different moving forward, but I'm still going to hope that I can see you in the comments. I'm going to start replying to your comments in those recorded shows, so we still have that interaction, because you guys, I consider you my friends, and that's going to be important for me. So thank you so much for that. Hit the like button for me. Appreciate every single one of you. I see you in the comments. I really like it. Toxic says, look at that, A to Z Sports adapting while our team is run like Blockbuster. There you go. We are adapting. We're doing what the Cowboys don't do, right? So there you go. And Gregory, maybe not an hour, but it might be a longer average duration for A to Z Sports Primetime when it's live. I promise you that. Eddie, thanks so much again. And I'll see you Sunday night. Enjoy your weekend. Bye-bye.